The O-RAN Alliance is supporting the Open RAN ecosystem in a number of important ways, bringing the sector together to develop specifications, identify the most important focus areas for R&D, and to organize test and verification programs, amongst many other things. And to get an update on the Alliance's work and to discuss some key areas of Open RAN tech development, I'm talking today with Alex Jinsung Choi, Chairman of the O-RAN Alliance and Senior VP of Group Technology at Deutsche Telekom. Alex, a pleasure to talk with you as always. Thanks very much for being with us today. Let's focus first on the all-important testing programs. Now, the O-RAN Alliance Spring Global Plugfest has just finished. What are the key takeaways for the Open RAN ecosystem? Have there been notable advances for network operators and technology developers?
Hi, Ray, once again. First of all, thank you for having me. So yes, you're right. The O-RAN Global Plugfest Spring this year concluded at the beginning of June. It took place at 10 different locations around the world. We had 60 participating companies, institutions, and labs. And this was already a sixth O-RAN Alliance Global Festival since we started in year 2019. And looking at the scope and the focus of those Plugfest, we can clearly see the great progress of the O-RAN ecosystem. At the beginning, the efforts focused mainly on the basic conformance test and integration of equipments. Now we can see very advanced conformance, interoperability, and performance testing, which takes much less effort to pass. For example, one of the tests focused on maximizing the length of the open front haul interface, which achieved 30 kilometers and could be even more. And that allows TCO savings by co-locating DUs in the rear deployments. And there's also improvements in the end-to-end scenarios, which are, of course, more complex and challenging. And passing those proof that deployments-ready equipment is available. Moreover, we saw very successful security tests, like eliminating a denial of service attack on open front haul or pertaining control plane data confidentiality between 5G core and G Node B. We verified that Open RAN security is not any worse at all than traditional radio access network. And actually, according to a newly published security report sponsored by the governments, US, Japan, Australia, India, it says the use of Open RAN does not fundamentally alter the security risk landscape for telecommunications compared to the more traditional RAN. So most security threats analyzed in the report affect both traditional network deployments and Open RAN deployments, with only 4% found to be unique to Open RAN. It also says mitigation measures make it feasible to ensure equivalent levels of security between the traditional and Open RAN deployments. And there are several other cases of testing. For example, radio intelligent controller or RICs and the XFs, RFs framework for different parts of the SMO. But the newly also for the quality of service and AI-powered energy saving, which is a very important initiative with regard to the sustainability in O-RAN Alliance. And these areas show great potential for the RIC, RAN Intelligent Controller. We are very much looking forward to seeing further progress in O-RAN Global Festival for this year.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a fantastic set of takeaways and a really interesting sounding report there that you cited. So lots for the community to take away there. Now, Open RAN specifications are developing really quickly. But how can you ensure that these plugfests are up to date and valid? Because they take quite a long time to set up as well, don't they? I mean, does the industry need a more continuous and less event-based approach to Open RAN testing?
Very good questions. In the plugfest, we test equipments based on the latest version of ORAN specifications. And as the standard evolve, and we update our testing procedures and run tests regularly to make sure everything's working as it should. As for the question about the more continuous and less event-based approaches to the ORAN testing, there's definitely a lot of merits in this idea, in these ideas. So this could take the form of continuous integration and continuous delivery, CI/CD in short, and which are very commonly used in software developments to automate the testing and delivery of new code. In such a system, as new versions of the ORAN specifications are released, testing procedure could be updated and automated tests could be run on regular basis to validate the equipments and softwares are compliant with the latest specification. So this would provide a more immediate feedback loop for developers and enabling them to identify and address issues more quickly. And in the integration test case of RAN intelligent controller and accept RFs, we consider the machine learning ops, known as ML ops. And ML ops provides a framework for the continuous integration and deployments of machine learning models in the same way that software development practices have been automated. And this is particularly critical for accepts and RFs, as these applications will likely involve ML models that needs to be updated and deployed frequently. However, note that while a more continuous approach to testing could complement the plugfest, it wouldn't necessarily replace it. So plugfest offer unique benefits such as opportunity for face-to-face collaboration and ability to testing equipments in a range of real-world scenarios, which can be replicated in an automated testing environment. Therefore, a combination of both continuous testing and periodic plugfest could be the most effective way to ensure the ongoing developments and validation of ORAN solutions.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good combination. So look forward to discussing that and seeing how that develops in the industry in the near future. Now, you mentioned the RAN intelligent controller or the RIC there a few times, and obviously this is a key area of development for many ecosystem players. But the RIC will only become effective once there are applications, the X apps and R apps you mentioned, once they're available to run on RIC platforms. How is that part of the sector developing, do you think? What is the development life cycle of these RIC applications?
Yeah, first, you need definitely all the RIC platform, accepts, RFs, or both. And accepts, RFs contains a machine learning model inside, which run on RAN intelligent controller platforms. The RIC ecosystem is growing quite fast, and more vendors, developers, and many ORAN member companies, including startups, are working on creating accepts RFs for various use cases. So regarding the RIC app development lifecycle, it actually follows this step. Step number one, developer identify the needs and use cases, the applications, the considering factors like optimizing networks, automation, and performance improvements. And which is followed by the second step, you have to design the architecture and functionality of the applications based on those requirements. And they define data models, interfaces, and how the application integrates with the RIC platform. And then step number three, developers write the code to build and train the machine learning models in the accept RFs using programming languages, framework, and APIs specified by the RIC platform to ensure the end-to-end compatibility. And the step number 4, and we undergoes rigorous testing and ensure it functions correctly and performs well and works with the RIC platform and other ML models. And this includes different types of testing to catch any issues. And last step number 5, we deploy onto the RIC platform. So the Oren Alliance and the vendors currently are offering various types of development kits, tools, and APIs to help developers create the accept RFs more easily and efficiently. As RIC platforms gain wider adoption, there is a growing marketplace for accept and RFs. And overall, the developments of accept RFs for RIC platform is progressing well, as I said, and supported by the Oren Alliance and their standardization, and also established the development practices and a growing community.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And I'm sure we'll see plenty of examples of these apps coming out into the market during the rest of 2023. Now, one of the interesting aspects of the RIC is that its use is not just limited to Open RAN deployments. Have there been any tests, trials, or proofs of concept with RIC platforms being integrated into existing traditional radio access networks?
This is a very, very good question. Especially this is important for the brownfield operators. So the short answer to your question is it's not yet, But in traditional RAN, they have traditional similar solutions called SON, self-organizing network. And we can make it interoperable with the RIC platform defined by the Oren Alliance. In general, the integrating a non-open RAN system with the Oren RIC requires adaptation layers because Oren RIC has very specific open interfaces like A1 and also E2 interfaces being defined by the Oren Alliance. So you have to comply your networks. Otherwise, it won't work at all. So this adaptation means the following 3 things. First, defining the interoperability requirements. And this includes specifying information, data formats, and functionalities that needs to be exchanged between the different systems. In this case, it's open RAN, ORAN compliant RAN versus the traditional RAN. Second, you have to embrace the adapting the protocols and interfaces. So your job is to evaluate the compatibility of the protocols and interfaces between the non-open RAN system and the ORAN RIC platform. If you found there's any incompatibilities, you have to develop adaptation layers and translators that can convert the protocols or provide a common interface for communications. The last thing you have to take into account is how to implement this mediation adaptation layers in your system. So you have to develop mediation layers or gateway components that sit between the non-open RAN and the ORAN RIC. So this new mediation layer can handle the protocol translations, message transformation, and data mappings to enable seamless communication and interactions between the 2 different systems. As mentioned earlier, yes, in the traditional RAN system, we have a traditional SON. So this traditional SON functionalities can also directly interwork with ORAN RIC accept RFs under conditions. Like I said, by integrating the traditional SON functionalities with the ORAN RIC, the network operators could leverage the benefits of both systems.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of interest in that, and I know some of the operators are already talking about this and looking at the potential there. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot about these the gateways and the mediation layers as well, now that the Open RAN and RIC ecosystem is starting to develop further. Now, generative AI is one of the other very hot topics in the technology sector in general right now. Is there a role for Gen AI in the RIC?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Certainly, there is some hype around the generative AI, and it's a potential for the applicability of the telco, especially the network management domain. So let me try to answer this question, even though it's a little bit too early to be more specific. So the application possibilities of generative AI, such as ChatGPT, are diverse theoretically. And when viewed from the perspective of telco network use cases, I can, propose three cases. First, the generative AI, or Gen AI in short, has a superior capability of using natural language-based question and answer interactions. And this includes not only a basic Q&A, but also more deep analytical features or use cases. For example, root cause analysis being used in the network fault management. And it could even involve using pre-trained vertical domain ChatGPT, which trained based on the 3GPP and ORAN specification documents. The sheer volume of the 3GPP and ORAN specification document is really overwhelming. So if we are able to build this domain-specific, RAN domain-specific ChatGPT, and then we can do many things. For example, to do this analytics, real-time analytics task much, much better. And even we can use this to train your people and to enhance their skills and knowledges of network operations. The second opportunity that I would like to highlight is the Gen AI, generative AI, has a capability of translations. So this can be useful in SLA management, service level agreement management, where the customer requirements or intents written in plain English, and that can be translated into machine readable and executable descriptions, either in a declarative or imperative format by ChatGPT. And these capabilities can ultimately be applied in ORAN network automation using RIC and also even SMO. The third proposal is, we can use these capabilities of generative AI. It's a instant programming. So from the perspective of network operators, we have many situations. There is a on-demand network service request, and then it's going to be important to automatically generate the necessary code, which could be a SDN program or script for auto provisioning to meet this on-demand network services. It could be an API. Yeah. So generative AI's programming capabilities can be utilized in such cases. And of course, still, as I said, it's a very early stage. So a lot of efforts should be made to address, of course, the hallucination issues. And other interesting case is, I would say it's a collaborative problem solving with your peers. So generative AI models can facilitate collaborative problem solving by acting as a virtual teammates or sparring partners or the subject matter experts. And they can engage in very interactive conversations, brainstorming sessions, explorative analysis with multiple network operators and engineers simultaneously. So not just the interaction between you and ChatGPT. You can invite your colleagues in other departments to analyze the root cause and also find the solutions with the strong support from the ChatGPT and offering solution, insight, alternative perspective, and suggestions, and something like that. So it is important. Gen AI should be considered as a supportive tools to augment human decision makings and analysis processes. And lastly, the model's decision and insights should be fully verified and validated and cross-checked beforehand.
Okay, well, lots of really interesting use cases there, and of course, with so much reskilling and upskilling required within the entire community right now, it sounds like there's a great deal of potential there for Gen AI to play an important role in making that easier and quicker as well. So great insights there, Alex. Thank you. So finally, we're in the middle of 2023 now. What are the next steps for the O-RAN Alliance? What's coming down the pipe for the rest of this year?
Yeah, the role of O-RAN Alliance is largely composed of developing specifications, developing reference code with the open source, and various support programs, including plugfest and OTIC and badging and certification, etc. So we will continue to sow in the futures, and we also plan to do make more efforts to increase the accessibility and information and experience exchanges platform between different member companies and different operators through the establishment of global networking between the different OTICs.
Okay, well, that will play an important role, obviously, as the ecosystem expands and more companies get involved. Of course, it's really every move accelerates the other parts of the industry as well to get involved. So Alex, listen, great to get an update on what the O-RAN Alliance is doing and to get your views on what's happening in the industry around the RIC and Gen AI and around the plugfest as well. So thanks very much for joining us, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Ray.